Hey, 420ers, it's 420 somewhere, and this is Monday. We're going to talk about some news. We have actually two stories today. Let's see, what to start with. First story is going to be about peyote and the question of when more and more psychedelics are being legalized or decriminalized at least. Peyote is kind of in a different category as the rest, and the reason is it's typically used for indigenous rituals in the past, and very recently it's been under fire for being over harvested, and it's mainly because of people who just want to try peyote and have a fun time with it. And there are people like indigenous cultures who have been using it for centuries, and they're unable to find as many as they used to be able to find, and it's because of these people who are going out and just harvesting and then doing it for fun. These cactuses are very specific, kind of ball like small cacti that take 7 to 12 years to grow before they're able to be harvested. So it takes a long time, and there's a lot of argument as to what to do with them. And so there are opposing viewpoints on whether or not they should be allowed in these decriminalization bills. On the one side, you have these indigenous cultures who have been using this plant for so many years, so many generations, and they believe that if it is decriminalized, then just the mindset of young people will be that it's okay to go out there and find some and use it without going through the proper steps of kind of cultivation. Whereas on the other side, they're saying that it doesn't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive, that decriminalization means more harvesting, and that they want to keep the focus on these indigenous cultures and on using it for the right reasons, which are, religious and ritualistic reasons. Ritualistic kind of sounds a little bad. Let's just say religious reasons. Not that it matters, but I would definitely err on the side of the indigenous cultures who have been dealing with this and know how to deal with this plant because they've been doing it for so long. And I do believe that it would be a mindset change with a lot of people who would go out there, and because it's decriminalized, they wouldn't go through the proper steps of understanding what this plant is typically used for. I feel like it shouldn't be in the same psychedelic category that is being decriminalized across the nation. So if any senators out there ever want to, contact me, let me know.
And John, how'd you quit smoking cigarettes? Well, that one's easy. I don't recommend this method at all. What I did was every time I wanted a cigarette, I rolled a joint. And about after a week, which I don't really remember, I ran out of both money and weed. But I didn't want cigarettes.
Okay, and the second story we have today is kind of an interesting study that was published today in Addiction Scientific Journal. It kind of goes over the data as to the prices and demand, I guess, of illicit drugs in the places where recreational weed has been legalized. And there's been a few years now, so there's more data being able to be pulled. Of course, it will take probably 10 years or 20 years to really look at it and see what the huge change has been, but the data from this does clearly show that there's a huge ripple effect just from recreational marijuana being legal in these places. And to be fair, it's a bit of a vague study, and there needs to be way more before any of this can be conclusive. And it doesn't really say exactly which locations it's taking from, but this is a breakdown on average of taking all of the data from across places that have legalized recreational marijuana. So there's a 9.2 decrease in street illegal cannabis prices, which makes sense, of course. There's a 19.5% decrease in low quality street cannabis prices. Again, definitely makes sense. There's a 64% increase in heroin prices in the places that have recreational legal marijuana. There is a 54% increase in heroin potency. And there is a 7.3% increase in street oxycodone prices, 5.1% increase in street hydrocodone prices, 93% decrease in law enforcement seizures of street illegal cannabis, of course, and a greater than 50% decrease in law enforcement seizures of heroin, oxycodone, and hydrocodone. The biggest kind of most interesting part of that whole thing is the 64% increase in heroin prices and the 50% increase in potency of heroin. At first, that's a little alarming, and it seems like there's more demand, so it's raising the price. But I think what it actually is, because of the potency in particular, it is people who are trying to keep that same level of profit that they've been getting, so they raise the potency, meaning that they don't have to make as much heroin, probably have a lot more fentanyl in the heroin that they're giving out, and they raise the price so that they keep that same profit because the demand itself is lowering. So in a way, it almost seems like because demand of heroin could be lowering, and this is all just my deductive reasoning, I don't even know if this is true or not, but even if that's the case, it could, on the long term, then start to kind of subside, and the prices of heroin would lower once there's nothing else they can really do. And that would be the way to kind of incentivize, I guess, people getting on heroin or something. For now, this increase in heroin prices seems like it could potentially mean that there is a lesser demand for heroin or for oxycodone or for things like that in the public. So that's potentially a great thing. And one thing that this clearly does prove, like I said before, is that there's a huge ripple effect when places legalize recreational marijuana. Okay, and that's kind of it for today. Yeah, we'll see you on Wednesday.
Yo, 24! Right hand for ass, left hand for tits.
Do it.
Come on.
Do it.
Come on, yeah!
Yes! Yes! Yes!